Hello and welcome to another episode of Golden Boy Tactics. Today we're going to be looking at a game that I played last weekend in Odense, a city here in Denmark. The tournament is called Feel No Shame. It was hosted by our lovely TO Gustav in Farag Cigar, a gaming store in Odense. And the tournament was awesome. It was a 3-game event. We had around 20 people participating and really good guys all over. Lovely cake. Somebody brought a cake for the day. Good coffee. So yeah, really nice day. And I ended up in 3rd place. This first game of the day was a really tough one and a really interesting one. So I thought we could take a closer look at that. For this tournament, I brought a Tzeentch army, and to lead my army, I had Kairos. I think generally this army depends a lot on the spellcasting, so having such a reliable spellcaster as Kairos really helps put the list together. With him, I have 2 units of Skyfires. They don't really do a lot of damage, but they can buff my Sangors, so if they shoot at a unit, I get +1 to hit against that unit. And they are very mobile, so actually they're good at jumping around and grabbing objectives. Then 2 blobs of 20 Sangors. They're the meat of the army. They're both the damage output and the tankiness. So they're very susceptible to all the buffs in the army, from +1 to hit and potentially +1 to wound, +1 attack. And together with Kairos debuff, they can really do quite a lot of damage. Then they get the recursion from the Sangor Shaman in the list. So at the end of turn, he can bring back the 3 models if they're fighting against something. And then 2 units of Jade Obelisks. I think the Jades are just incredible value for their points. They are tanky, they deal good damage. Sort of the only disadvantage is that you cannot reinforce them because they can't be reinforced, but they really bring a great value. And I'm playing Law of Fate because I really like to buff up my Sangors with the Shield of Fate, giving them 5-up ward and -1 to hit against them. And then the final touch of my army is my Demon Prince. He's in a Regiment of Renown, but he gets the Disciple of Tzeentch keyword, so he can use all the abilities, he can get artifacts and so on. So he has the Weird Flame Blade, meaning that if he strikes something and it takes damage, it gets burning applied straight away. So he's a really fun piece, especially because you can use the 6s from your Destiny dice to just do auto mortal wounds from him. So that's sort of the gimmick of the army, is to reroll your Destiny times enough to have 6 6s and just apply 18 mortal wounds to the enemy. So that's quite fun. So it's not like a super strong army, but it has plays into most things, so I really enjoy playing it. My opponent for this game was Rasmus, a fellow member of the national team and a really strong player. And on top of that, he was playing an incredibly strong Lumineth army developed by our former captain for Team Denmark, Rune Holse. And yeah, this army has a lot of tricks in it. So it's a pure hero hammer list. So with all the strong characters, Elania Nelethor that can be super tanky and do good spellcasting, but then at the end of the game just do tons of damage because they add the current battle round to the damage profile. The new Scourge of Garan, Light of Eltharion, who just hits like a truck and you cannot really get rid of him, and even if you manage to kill him, he can come back with a spell casting. Then Severeth, who's just a pain to deal with, super fast, shoot, power through, far away again, and you cannot even shoot at him unless you're within 9 inches. Then we have a big block of Sentinels that just shoot incredibly hard and far. Sort of the only downside is that they're quite easy to kill, but getting to them is the tricky thing in this army, because in front of them will be 10 Blade Lords who are just, as long as they're close to some infantry, they're just really tanky. Especially combined with the Enlightener, who has a spell that can make them ethereal. So most games they will be 4 ethereal save, 5 ward save, -1 to hit against them, so they're very hard to get rid of. And then Cathaller, to just have some more spellcasting in the army. And then very tanky unit, Saviors of Cinderfall, so Callous Tall with their companions, who gives sort of the opponent to not only concern about the front line of the Lumineth army, but also that that you can suddenly drop down in the back with a very hard-hitting unit against wizards and incredibly tanky to just stand on an objective somewhere. So I've played against this army before, almost the exact same matchup, where I lost quite big. I managed to kill most of the army, but the Lighterfield Therion and the twins alone could just wipe my entire army. There's so much output, everything can shoot and fight in combat and deal tons of damage. So yeah, I knew it was going to be a very difficult matchup where I probably needed to take some chances. Alright, let's jump into the game. We're playing the Broiling Brutes battle plan, and let's start looking at the deployment. So I have a few key priorities in the way I deploy. So I'm really scared of his sentinels, so I want to deploy in a way that I choose what he can shoot at. So hopefully I will be able to shield the Fate that unit in his hero phase, so to limit his output. So I deploy, and then my other priorities is to make sure that Tzeentch cannot charge in and snipe Kairos the first turn. So I use my Jade Obelisks in each side, standing in obscuring so they can't be shot at, to screen out the flanks. Then I deploy my 2 units of Sangors in the front, but one of the units I deploy in a way so I know it will be really hard for the sentinels in Rasmus' army to actually see them. Despite the terrain not being obscuring, it's going to be really hard to draw a natural line of sight to that unit in the way the 2 big rocks are placed in this map. So that means there's only... And then I backblind both Kairos and Skyfires, meaning that the only thing he'll really be able to shoot at is the 1 unit of Sangors that I hope to then shield the Fate in his hero phase. Interestingly enough, the Demon Prince is an infantry, so he'll benefit from the guarded hero rule, meaning that Rasmus won't be able to shoot at him with the sentinels. So that's my sort of priorities in the deployment. Rasmus deploys in, I would say, quite the standard way that this army plays. So he is in one big castle where he's frontlining the Blade Lords together with the Lighterfield Therion, and then as you see right now, he's putting all the sentinels right behind that. And my army really can only attack from the front. I don't have a lot of teleport shenanigans, so I'm playing exactly the way that Rasmus likes to play against. So I need to attack him on the front, I need to get through the Blade Lords and Light before getting to the juicy stuff in the back. So yeah, it's going to be a really interesting game to see how that pans out. And then, of course, he deep strikes then Tzeentch, so they're ready to sort of flank or take an objective. And Sereth can just jump around and grabbing all the objectives that the castle is not directly standing on. So we finished deployment and need to jump into sort of the first very exciting part of the game, which is my Destiny dice. First here Rasmus just need to select his who Tzeentch are targeting against, and he will of course pick Kairos. So he has +1 to, I think it's wound against that unit with Tzeentch. And now comes the first exciting roll of the game, which is my Destiny dice, and I regret to see that I have 5 2s and not a single 6. So yeah, I really need those 6s in this game, so already now I know I'm going to be re-rolling those quite a bit. Let's jump into the first turn here. So Rasmus has finished his hero phase, cast different spells to buff up his units, ethereal and so on. Unfortunately, I fail my countercast on the Shield of Fate and the Sangors, so they are right now very vulnerable to the Sentinel shooting. I do, however, notice that Rasmus only moves up just to be within range, as you see now, so the backline is just within, and maybe not even all of them. So I hope to get a good redeploy soon to get out of range of the Sentinels, because if I do that, then the Sentinels won't have any target for that turn. So you see he moves Sereth up, and then now we go into my redeploy, and luckily I roll a big 5 to get just out of the shooting range of the Sentinels. So this is a really crucial moment for me. In the shooting phase, only Sereth can shoot. He shoots away 1.5 of my Skyfires on the backline, which he can just get within range of. And then he's charging, and he's measuring basically that he can power through back and grab an objective, so he shoots all 3 objectives this turn. Now here he is considering whether or not to tag my Sangors. I think this was in order to give them the 3 mortal wounds from the impacts of the charge, but luckily, unluckily for me, he decides against it and decides to just tag the Jades. So I think it would have been a big mistake here to tag the Sangors, because I would have been able to deal quite a lot of damage to Sereth and he wouldn't really get any benefit from it. Plus I would be able to pile forward by 3 inches. So I would have a shorter way to his front line. But yeah, Rasmus makes the right call, and he ends up just outside of 3 of my Sangors to just fight against my Jade Obelisks. and he does a bit of damage to them and ends up powering through back, as you can see here, and grabs that last objective. So does a bit of scoring, and yeah, pretty good turn 1 for him. But of course would have been a lot better if I haven't gotten such a good redeploy on my Zangors. Going into my first turn, I have to admit I was a bit puzzled. I've played this game before, this matchup before, where I lost, and I still could only see that same game plan. You know, I only have one option. It is to charge into his front line and hope for the best. And luckily, I get the 3-up run and charge from the Zangor Shaman onto the Zangors, so I know I can get quite far with them. And I get a Sigil buff with +2 to move, so I get so I'm a bit faster, so I'm quite sure that I can actually get into him. And I get the Shield of Fate also in the Zangors, so they're quite tanky, so it really feels like I need to stick to that game plan. Of course, the big downside is that my Destiny dice are super bad. I want to use a lot of 6s to go in with my Demon Prince immediately and just strike super hard, but I have not a single 6. So I use some spell casting to reroll my Destiny. I reroll them twice, and luckily, I think here we see it, I reroll them again and end up in a total of 4 6s. So yeah, that was really good for me, because that means that I have some damage that I can deal. You don't see the 6s here on the screen, but yeah, they're there, 4 6s. So in my movement phase, we see my Zangors moving forward here, my Demon Prince, and this is another sort of critical moment. Rasmus has just 1 command point left, and I know that the best thing he can probably do with that is a covering fire from the Sentinels into the Demon Prince. So I'm really considering, you know, my Zangors have already moved as far as they could and actually used a 5 from my Destiny dice to run them, because I also only have 1 CP left. And I'm considering here whether I want to put my Demon Prince further back so he's not the target of covering fire, but then my charges get harder, and that sort of defeats the whole purpose of my game plan. So I just need to move forward, I need to be able to charge, I need to eat that covering fire, and Rasmus spends his last CP on it. And I am considering whether to spend my last CP on an all-out defense on the Demon Prince, but I do some quick math and I'm quite confident that I should be able to survive the hit. So after my shooting, I managed to kill off 2 of the Sentinels, so there's only 37 attacks instead of 41, so improving the odds slightly in my favor, and Rasmus is then doing the covering fire. And again, super interesting moments, 37 shots here, and we see him roll it here, and he's getting a total of 19 saves. And what you see me doing here is actually rolling the saves 1 by 1 to continuously count, you know, how I want to survive with just 1 wound, that's fine, but I really don't want to lose my Demon Prince, so I'm considering how to spend my Destiny dice to potentially save him. And so here you see me rolling a few dice at a time to make sure that he survives, and that I don't unnecessarily spend too many of my Destiny dice. And this is a perfectly okay way to play. Actually, all hits and wounds and saves as post are intended to be rolled 1 by 1, but we only roll them several at a time to sort of speed up the game. But in this case, for me it makes perfect sense to just do them 1 by 1. So I do end up spending 1 of my Destiny dice on an armor save, but then luckily in the end I rolled some 6s on the ward saves, meaning the Demon Prince takes 7 damage. So not ideal for me, but he survives, and that's sort of the key moment for me. And I have 4 6s, so I know that in a second when I charge into the Light of Eltharion, he's have a 4 ward, he has 6 wounds, so in my head there's sort of a 50-50 chance of killing him straight up. What I had completely forgotten about is that he ignores the first damage. That suddenly means that odds are actually screwed against me if I go into him like that. However, you can say I have 2 chances. So one chance is that the Demon Prince just strikes and I hit above average damage and the light goes down like that. Or alternatively that I get strike first on my Demon Prince on a 4-up, and then if the light has 1 or 2 wounds left, hopefully the Zangors are able to take him off before he strikes back. So I think if you combine those 2 things, it's still slightly in my favor, but the thing is it can easily go wrong, and if it does, it's just, you know, almost all of what I'm doing here is wasted, because if the light gets to fight just once, he has retaliated so hard that I'm likely losing my Demon Prince, and many of my Sangors, and actually I've lost more than I've gained this turn. So it's a big risk from my side, but it's something that I decide to do anyways, because I feel like it's the only option I really have. If I slow play this game, the Sentinels are gonna slowly pick me apart, and I don't have nearly the same range of threat as him. So I kind of need to do it. So yeah, I take the chance and I go in. So we finished the charges. Going into the combats, I've applied the 12 mortal wounds to light from the 4 6s I have with my Destiny dice. Luckily, Rasmus rolls just 1 below average, and I kill off the light. I didn't get my strike first, so this was really the only shot I had at not getting just hard hit by him. But yeah, I managed to take him off, and then he retaliates a bit with the Blade Lords. They don't do too much damage. My Sangors, on the other hand, because I have the +1 to hit from the Skyfires, do quite a lot of damage to his Blade Lords. I think 1 is left. And then Rasmus leaves the one just in range of the Demon Prince, so I can actually power through back. You see me powering through back here at the end, which is really good for me, because otherwise he would have very easily died the next turn. So yeah, very, very good turn for me. Quite lucky, if I didn't get the run and charge from the Sangor Shaman, if I didn't do a buff damage, if I hadn't rerolled my Destiny dice and gotten those 6s, none of this would have been possible. So I got lucky, I took some chances and got lucky again, and I needed to do it this way. I think if I hadn't had those 6s with my Destiny dice, I could not have gone for this play, and I would have needed to do something different. So yeah, not at all an easy game. Here you see me just measuring the 3 inches for the Guarded Hero to hopefully keep my Demon Prince alive for the through next turn, which could end up being Rasmus's. So Rasmus wins the roll-off to the next turn. I think I would have been in an extremely strong position if I had won that one. But he wins it, and he of course takes the turn. And I had completely forgot about that actually in the hero phase, because I was planning to rally my Demon Prince in the hero phase. I was so happy with my play, but I forgot about that Rasmus had several opportunities to actually deal a lot of damage to my Demon Prince in the hero phase. So he had one from the Rune of Petrification that he will get out in a second, and then he also had a spell that he can apply to units within, I think it's 18 inch range, or 12 or 18 inch range, and the more units he does it to, the more it accumulates damage. So he picked my Demon Prince as the last target, and luckily that spell failed there, so he didn't get it. But here we see him getting also the rune in, and another chance to deal the last mortal wounds to my Demon Prince. So not good for me at all. Luckily he didn't manage to do it, and I rallied quite a bit of health back to the Demon Prince. So yeah, we keep him alive a bit more yet. Going into the movement phase of Rasmus, there wasn't sort of too much to be done. He needed to scoot back a bit his sentinels to make sure that I couldn't pile into them in the combat phase. So we see that happening here, where Rasmus is just measuring out. So he's moving them back here, and then afterwards Sereth is moving in. And here again, I thought that the intention was to just go all in and make sure to remove my Demon Prince. But actually, in the way Rasmus decides to then shoot in his shooting phase, he is measuring up where Callus and Toll can go down, and luckily I've done it very hard for him, so they had to deploy very far down, away from any juicy stuff. Well, 9 inch away from the Sangor Shaman, but I of course decide to redeploy him, so he ends up getting a 12 inch charge to him. So yeah, again a bit lucky with the redeploy there. Then going into the shooting phase, Rasmus doesn't go all in on the Demon Prince. Of course, the Sentinels can anyways only shoot into the Sangors that you see me taking off here. And then what Rasmus decides to do is actually charge in and take a chance that he can kill my Demon Prince in the combat phase, because he has few wounds left still. But yeah, I this time roll the 4 up for strike first, and I spike my damage. Rasmus fails his wards, and you see here a beautiful moment where Rasmus is rolling the ward saves for Sereth, and yeah, he's just gone. So again, I got super lucky. If the Demon Prince has died, this would have been way more difficult, but me taking off Sereth like that is just super good for me, obviously. So the rest of the combat phase plays out. The Blade Lords die, and I already now see that I'm going into a very good turn, because it will be very hard to defend the Sentinels when I get the turn in a second. Importantly, also in the hero phase, Rasmus failed to bring back the Light of Etherion. Of course, I was dreading his comeback, so I was again lucky with the unbind. He decided to take the rune here, so he could have also, of course, instead of placing the rune, he could have placed back the Light of Etherion. But in this case, the rune could kill my Demon Prince, and it was just too good to not go for that. But he failed the other manifestations that could have brought back the light. So not too lucky by Rasmus. And that's something I was keeping aware of the rest of the game, that I don't want a nasty light back in my face. So we go into my turn. I get my buffs up, I get the sigil again, affecting most of the army, and for me now it's time to just destroy as much as possible from Rasmus' army. So I move the Sangors here towards the Sentinels, you can see here, and then I move the other unit of Sangors up, ready to take down his shrine, where he has a wizard placed inside. And just moving my entire army up. So actually part of what I'm thinking here is I just want to get away from Tzeentch. If I can sort of ignore them and just focus on the rest of the army, I'm sort of playing up, I'm playing against a small army, basically. Of course, the downside of this is that I'm giving away tactics. So part of his battle tactic card is to control all objectives in my deployment. And here there's only one, and I'm leaving it right now for Tzeentch to go in and grab. But I'm playing here the safe way. It's a singles tournament, and I just need to win the game. And I feel like this is the more safe play, to just focus my entire army on his backline, and then leave Tzeentch and focus on them afterwards. I get my charges, well, most of them. I don't get the Jades into the faction terrain. I was very hoping for that, because they are anti-faction terrain and double the damage. But I get most of the other charges and kill off, well, basically most of his army. I think after my turn 2 here, he has Tzeentch in the background, and he has the twins left, and he has one wizard still left, but everything else is dead by the end of the turn. So obviously I'm in a super strong position, and now it's about sort of trying to maximize the win as much as possible. The rest of the game we can keep it relatively short, although Rasmus is still scoring tons of tactics. So he wins the prior again into turn 3 and decides to take it, and just going for the point. So you see he's grabbing my backline objective, scoring that second tactic on Restless Energy, and going in to score the objective in his home. So actually I think the way this battle plan is ruled, he's actually holding a pair of objectives, because I can't take that from him. So he's scoring quite good against this turn. Then we see me getting the turn afterwards, and I'm just moving in with the Demon Prince, hoping to kill off the twins, and again just giving a bit of space to Tzeentch in the background, just focusing on my scoring. Demon Prince, despite having performed very, very well earlier, does not manage to kill off the twins, and she has I think done some covering fire or something, so she can teleport away and keep scoring points for Rasmus. So actually the way this game ends, Rasmus managed to kill off another of my units with shooting from the twins, and he is typing in the final score, because Rasmus actually ends up getting quite a lot of points from this game. But all in all, a very interesting game where I sort of needed to take some chances in the start, because I would have lost the slow grind. I needed to just go head on, and luckily the odds played in my favor this game. But I think it's one of these cases where it's just, there's a limit to how you can say you need to know when to take the right chances, but you cannot sort of safeguard everything. So I needed to take some bold bets here. I needed to either get the strike first on the Demon Prince, or I needed to perform above average damage with him, and luckily I did the latter, so it ended up well for me. But this could have looked very, very different. Also, even if Rasmus had just managed to kill off the Demon Prince with his spells in his second turn, or many other things. So super exciting game, really tough opponent, and actually the final score, let's just pull it up here. So yeah, looking at the score here, you see that despite me being in a very, very strong position and getting lucky throughout the game, actually Rasmus managed to score many tactics. I think he scored 2 tactics from each card and ended up with 50 points by the end of the game to my 75. So actually not that big a loss when you think about sort of how bad or wrong things went for Rasmus. So again, really, really good game, really interesting game, and I got lucky in this one, and looking forward to playing Rasmus again in the near future. That's all for Golden Boy Tactics for this time. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope if you have any feedback to how I can improve videos in the future or any content you would like to see, please just leave a comment and please give this video a like. I'm looking forward to making more content for you guys in the future. So yeah, take care all, and stay posted for the next one.